Hey, Magic fans, and welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Captain Clyde's MTG, and we got a doozy for you today. They're revitalizing standards, and these are some big changes that could have some serious effects to not just the format, but card value and the whole shebang. But before we get into that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Still trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate the help. So let's get into it. So Sunday, later in the evening, I came across this. Revitalizing Standard by Aaron Forsythe from Wizards of the Coast and Billy Jensen. Um, so it talks here about how Standard has long been vital to the game and thriving local stores, regular play, robust competitive tabletop scene, metagame, yada yada yada. It talks about even the context of Magic growing leaps and bounds in the past few years. Tabletop Standard hasn't kept pace. Commander has grown tremendously. More and more players enjoy Pioneer and Modern, and Standard sees more play on Magic the Gathering Arena every day than individual games in any other format. So here's the thing. Because of the rotation cycle of Standard, and people have complained about this for a long time, cards rotate in and out so quickly, there's no value in keeping those cards. So if you really want to keep cards of value, you play an older format, Pioneer, modern, vintage, it talks about it here because the cards stay relevant longer, therefore they only have value, but you get more play out of them, and it's not just a hot take minute and then it's gone. So uh, it talks about here. It concerns us when tabletop standard gets left behind despite Magic's tremendous growth. Time and time again, we've heard from players of local store owners. They believe a healthy, well-liked, well-attained standard is still incredibly important to experience and their success. Lately, it's been we've been doing more asking and listening to assess how we can help standard. So here's the next thing. They say is to help the local environment. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Does it need help? Yes. Are they doing it out of the kindness of their heart? Probably not. Because here's the thing. Once something rotates out of standard or a standard set is no longer viable, they're not selling it anymore because it's out of print. So they're not making money on it. So the only format that makes them a lot of money is standard if standard is the legal format and a successful format. For a long time it hasn't been, which is also what's caused a drop in their sales. People are buying older cards that are out of print to play modern, pioneer, legacy, you name it. And these are cards that Wizards can't sell. They can at best reprint, but with bad sets coming out constantly that people don't like or upset with, constant reprints also don't get the money because a lot of people who want the newer cards can honestly buy the older ones at a relatively closer price instead of buying a whole box of new cards or packs when they only want a select few cards. So the real reason for this is they've realized that the only way they can really make money is they have to sell standard product, which means standard needs to be the forefront game market for their product. The older sets are great and they can print cards into them, but they don't see the return that they see what they see with standard when standard floods the market, and they've lost sight of that in the long run, and that's why they're suffering, have been suffering, and now have figured it out after they got their heads out of their butts and actually admitted that they don't know what they're doing. So, over the past years, it says standard play has dried up in many stores. Of course, it has. It's also resulted in a lot of stores not running events or stores closing, um, or just switching to other events. Flesh and Blood, Grand Archives, brand new, Weiss Swords, MetaZoo, Pokemon, you name it. There are other formats that are more standard viable compared to Magic standard that people like more, and that's where they're suffering. Now it says here I have my own list of possible reasons. I'd love to hear from you and hear from you about your store community. Why has sanctioned standard play declined relative to other formats in the store? And then it gives you a place that you can contact him. It's the same thing we've been telling him. You can tell him again if you want. Feel free to go hit him up. I'm not going to because it's not like they listen to what we say half the time anyway until we start boycotting other products like Magic 30. But anyway, um, so they're putting together plans to do that. It helps that Standard is once again gaining traction as a fun format, showcased in Pro Tour March of the Machines this very weekend. So again, they've realized the only way to make money is to sell current product. The only way to do that is Standard has to be the forefront format for Pro Tour and the game itself. So, it says here we also recognize we need to make more public commitment to Standard competitive tabletop Magic. Yes, because as we know, back when the vid hit everybody and they shut everything down, people obviously went to Commander and all the other formats because nobody was playing them, and now they won't go back because they realize the other formats are cheaper to play. They don't need Wizards' help, and they don't have to buy extra cards, which is again putting a serious kibosh on Wizards' bottom line. So, um, they're gonna roll out a multifaceted. Well, it is kind of running like water, but anyway, plans over the next coming months to do so, and get ready for it because I'm really conflicted about their steps. All right, step one. So first off, with this step, they're going to extend the life cycle of all cards in Standard by 1 year. So that means, starting with current Standard environment, sets will rotate out every 3 years rather than 2. So a whole nother year of Standard sets in rotation. Now their take on this means that the release of Wilds of Eldraine, there'll be no Standard rotation for the year till the following 2024, at which time Val, Hunt, Kamigawa, Streets will then all rotate out. Now, I'm going to go through all this and then kind of give you my feedback. So the intent for the change, and I'll kind of give feedback on their bullet points as we go. Our intent with this change is not to overshadow any amazing growth Commander, Pioneer, Modern, or other formats have seen in recent years, which honestly, changing how Standard works and what rotates in and out has no effect on older formats, because once it rotates into Standards, it's legal in all the other formats. Let's say ban it in the format specifically as a card. So there's nothing to do with that. But instead gives players more reason to engage with Standard. Extending the Standard rotation to 3 years will, we believe, achieve 2 main points: an additional benefit that can make Standard tabletop more enjoyable. So here we go. This will give current Standard cards more longevity. Time and time again, we hear that players want to play with cards that they love and enjoy longer. Standard is our only rotating format, and while keeping it fresh is important, we feel that there is a more effective middle ground. This is probably 50-50. Yes, we want to play with cards longer. We want cards to last longer. We want them to keep their value, though. They, I think, want to give people the chance to buy more product for stuff that stays in print. So my callback to this is, if you didn't make so much product that everything was cheap to begin with, this wouldn't be an issue of people buying your product. Now, they think that this will keep people playing Standard longer because the cards will be better longer, and that's true to the point of people will play. However, it will not increase their sales because people buy the cards they want, and then that's the end of it. They have to figure something else out about their sales. So this is only one part of the will people play Standard, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure if that one's even enough as a start. Now, second, it will allow mechanics and archetypes to be more effectively built on over time. As we mentioned, as we move away from block models, we gain a lot of flexibility. We also lost some ability to build on mechanics and themes within a set. With a longer window, we can find more opportunities to build up and revitalize archetypes. Coupled with the point above, it can lead to more diversity, longer lasting archetypes, and even competitive churn to keep players engaged. Now, this is possible, but I think the problem they have here, unless they're changing their design mechanics, the problem they have is when the sets come out, they all have their each individual different mechanic. So if you put all these sets together, like for example, let's go up here to the top, up here let's talk about just Val, Hunt, Kamigawa, Streets. Every one of those sets had its own unique mechanic. There was nothing to build on because the mechanic was inherited to the set. Now, you could get cards from other sets that would work well with that mechanic, but it wasn't like the mechanic was evergreen to a point where, werewolves was a thing in Crimson Vow. Yeah, there were some werewolves. They weren't really great. Neon Dynasty didn't have werewolves. Streets of New Capenna didn't really have werewolves. So you're not building on the werewolf of Midnight Hunt. Same goes for Vampires of Crimson Vow, even though probably a little more popular and a little more throughout the um, sets, still not built on that set. So these sets are built as standalones, so even mixing them together doesn't help a whole lot. So they're going to have to work on that to begin with. And if they haven't changed that moving forward, they're going to have a serious issue. So the last point, it also gives us stronger tools to create an environment where decks are more colors and mechanic, like green, white, toxic, blue, white soldiers, and less mid-range. With a larger card pool, the format can handle bigger swings with entire decks seeded at once. So this is true, but as we've seen before, Vow and Hunt weren't real big on colors, maybe two colors at most, sometimes three. Kamigawa, two colors. Streets was the only one that came out with a heavy three-color infusion in it. And most of that was aimed toward Commander and didn't really see a whole lot of play inside the standard format. So, again, they have to change what they're doing if they want this to work. These are good ideas that are listed. However, in their current way that they roll sets out and how they're done, this will not work unless they start making sets to match these type of things they want to happen. And that's where they're going to struggle. So here at the bottom, it wraps up with, we believe that this will give Standard more stability, more vitality, and strengthen it for local game stores. Our attention toward improving the Standard environment won't be ending here. To help ensure Standard thrives at local game stores, we'll be rolling out a multi-step plan to support and revitalize Standard Tabletop. While later steps are still in the planning stages, we felt it was important to share these changes as early as possible once our plans around rotation were locked in place. The rest of the plan is currently undergoing iteration. We'll roll out as we finalize it. While we work on that, we want to hear more from you. So, again, I think they're on the right path. However, I think what they're going to struggle with is they have to cut back on the different variations because people don't care. Yes, it makes cards cheap, but people want it to be collectible. So what they're doing with this is possibly making it so that people want to buy their product for longer periods of time, and they think that means people will buy it more. But here's the catch on that. If we go to this 3-year thing and now sets are in print for an additional year, that means even more people will not like Standard because stuff doesn't go out of print, people aren't going to buy it, and it's going to drive the price down because they're going to print so much of it, it's going to sit on shelves until they have to go back and reprint it. And to be honest with you, with Vow, Hunt, for example, Streets, Kamigawa was pretty good. All those sets, they printed them, and to this day, they're not out of any of the standard formats, and people still aren't buying them. And to the point that these are below the cost of current product, which came out 10% higher. People are still selling them at $89, $90 a box because nobody wants them. So making it longer and expecting to get more money out of people is not going to work. And I know that's what they're thinking. What they need to do is make Standard more of a viable format that will have less product going into it, so that not only are the cards there usable longer, but there's less need to keep buying. And that's the part that they're missing. They can't get past that. We'll pump as much in as we can, but we'll just make it longer for the sets to be legal. That doesn't help because people don't want to keep spending money. Now, it will let people keep playing because they'll keep playing their old decks until they get frustrated by being beat by all the new cards that come out, and then that's going to cause another issue. So if they're not going to address that, that's going to be a whole nother thing. But here's the things that are coming to Magic. So for those of you who hope for rotation, which of the sets that are going to rotate, I don't think anybody cared. We're not rotating for another year till 2024. So buckle up, Buttercup. These standard formats about to get large and in charge. And also, it looks like they finally realized, at least I hope so, that Standard has to be the main format, or no one's going to play it. And when I say that, I mean the game in general. So, with all that, guys, I hope this sums it up for you. Tell me what you think down below about this kind of strategy and what you think they should be doing to fix things. I'm not gonna rain on forever, but I don't want to make this video too long. So until next time, be kind, and I hope to see you across from the game table. Oh, and stay tuned. We're gonna start doing some Grand Archive openings on the channel. Woohoo!